Out on the beach, out in the street, that's where we'll meet. I was asked to do this a long time ago by my beautiful friend down in Arizona, Dave Parrish. He says, for his network, he says, Kevin, so we can build this into our teaching network, could you do a series on the environment and Fukushima for kids? So, you know, I've been busy, a lot of distractions, so this will be the first, and I'll make sure that I do them outside in really great settings, and you know I know where they're at in Utah. So, this is where we'll start, kids. Okay, Fukushima is a place in Japan. Fukushima is kind of like your state where you live, you know, where you live, California or Montana or Arkansas or Florida or New York. Fukushima, Japan's a country. It's an island. It's a small country that has a lot of populace on it. It's on what we call the Ring of Fire. Now, you kids in California probably know what the Ring of Fire is. That's the ring around the Pacific Ocean, which we get earthquakes, you know. And when earthquakes happen, we can have things what we call tsunamis. And tsunamis are giant rushes of water. Well, on 3/11/11, which is March 11th, the year 2011, we had one of the biggest earthquakes in maybe human history. 9.0 on what we call the Richter scale. Huge. We had a tsunami that was between 30 and 60 feet high waves that rushed in for miles. Well, we have a thing called nuclear energy. Now, as you know, what heats the earth and what heats you when you go outside? The sun. The sun. You know, human beings, as they started to use more things, you know, we have more television, we have more games, we have more things, whatever. We've required more energy. So, you know, for years we used fire, coal. But, you know, it pollutes the environment. Well, a long, long time ago, 70 years ago, because, you know, when you're little and you're in class and you're taught how to share, some people don't know how to share. Now here in the United States, we fought back off the system that didn't know how to share. They're called monarchies. They have kings and queens. Here in the United States, we don't believe in that. We were founded on our founding principles. You were taught George Washington. Remember our first president? By the way, was a wonderful, wonderful man. We had Thomas Jefferson. We had Alexander Hamilton. They didn't want to deal with the Queen anymore, you know. We started our own country. And those things you're taught very properly right, you know, as we get older. Well, we had some horrific wars in Europe, and this spilled over the United States, World War I, because people didn't know how to share. Well, as that went along, some people, when they're children, you know, they don't sit down with their mom and dad, and they don't read books, and, you know, they don't learn to love their environment. They don't go on picnics, and, you know, they got taught the wrong things by their parents, taught them the wrong things, and they refused to share. But anyway, disagreements turn into war. And people, it escalates. Now, we all have emotions, right? You know, we all cry. There's nothing wrong with crying. We all are very happy. We jump up, yay, yay. Those are great emotions to have. We get angry sometimes. And there's nothing wrong with being angry. Nothing. Angry is a very good emotion. We all are given these emotions. They're normal emotions. They're all normal things with us. Well, some people don't know how to control them. Some people, what we call, internalize them. You know how you get crying, you throw your fit, whatever, and then, you know, your mom or your teacher, you know, they have a talk to you and you feel better. But some people don't do that, you know, and some people, you know, they never learned how to share when they were little. They didn't learn all these things that you learned. Well, as we invented this thing, these scientists, you know, you learned about molecules and atoms. They learned how to split them and create energy. Now, it's not magic, and I think it's very important for all you kids to understand. Splitting the atom and nuclear, which a lot of people as adults of our generation somehow think it's magic. It's not. It comes from what we call uranium. Now, uranium's a natural thing in the earth. That's how we make this. It's really a complex way, but basically what nuclear power plants which derived from a weapon called the nuclear bomb. Now in World War II, as it was leading up, there was a guy named Einstein. Remember? He lived over there in Europe, came to the United States. Remember, there was a guy named Hitler and a fascist regime that was what we call genociding. Now, what does genocide mean? The word genocide. You know, it means kill. Now, try to wipe out. It doesn't mean completely wipe out. Try to wipe out. It's wrong in all ways. I mean, we're taught to love one another. We're taught to surely not kill. That's the worst thing we can do, right? You know, well, he wanted to kill a certain group of people. And Einstein was one of those people. He was here, well, he had heard rumor that Hitler and Mussolini had developed this new weapon that worked off science that split the atom, called a hydrogen bomb, called a nuclear bomb, an atom bomb, whatever you want to call it. So they got afraid that he was going to drop one on the United States, and this devastating bomb was going to wipe us all out, kill us all, and rightfully so. And so he went to President Roosevelt, and he told Roosevelt this story. Now remember, Albert Einstein was the most famous man probably in the world by now. He had come up with the theory that light bent, which changed the world scientifically. Now, so he wrote a letter. His friend came from Germany and says, hey, Hitler's close to having this thing, this bomb. He was living, I believe, in Long Island at the time in New York. And he believed him. And he wrote a letter to Franklin Roosevelt, and Franklin Roosevelt believed him. And so they started a thing called what we call the Manhattan Project. It was a secret program to get this bomb before they got that bomb. And it was in a place called Oak Ridge, Tennessee. And a place called Los Alamos, New Mexico. A guy named J. Robert Oppenheimer and a guy named, you know, a whole group of amazing, brilliant scientists. And they went crazy and they built it. And it was called Trinity, and they let it off. A test one. Well, we had got into a war with not just Russia, with Japan. Japan refused to surrender. It was an ugly, 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 horrible war. Really a horrible war. You know, many, many, many people dying by the day. Well, anyway, President Roosevelt passed away, and President Truman and the American populace, they wanted an end to the war. And finally, this horrific war that Russia lost 28 million men, America lost untold men, and Europe was devastated. It was a horrible, horrible thing. And the United States and Russia together, Germany, Hitler, which I don't like calling it Hitler, surrendered. But the Japanese refused to surrender. And it was ugly. And the Japanese had attacked Pearl Harbor. So they went ahead and dropped one of these bombs on Hiroshima, Japan, and Nagasaki, Japan. Horrific things, horrible things. They should never be used, ever, ever, ever shouldn't be made. The worst weapon ever invented. But as time went forward, something come out of that. Hey, we can create nuclear energy, and basically they started building these things called nuclear plants, which in those days they thought it was magic. They were like, oh, you'll be able to put a pellet in your car, too cheap to meter. You know, they were just learning about this new energy, which it's not magic. It comes from uranium mines. And basically, what a nuclear generator, it has to be by huge sources of water, and it's an energy reaction that all it simply does is boil water. Now it boils water and turns these giant turbines. You've drove by these big things. You'll see steam maybe in your neighborhood, whatever. And it creates an electrical current through a generator, which creates electricity. It really rose up in the 50s and the 60s, and then, you know, we called them peacekeepers. We got into a thing called what we call the Cold War between Russia and the United States, again, because these children did not know how to share. Winston Churchill, Stalin, the ruler of Russia, the ruler of the Great Britain and the United States, they all got together. They didn't know how to share. So the United States and Russia didn't know how to share with each other, or England didn't know how to share. So, oh, we got a bigger bomb than you. Look at our bomb. Just like, you know, when you were little, oh, my dad can beat up your dad. That's exactly what it was. Boom, boom, boom. Well, as time went on, we had a president named President Kennedy. And he came along and says, hey, these bombs, they had a place called the Nevada Test Site where they were experimenting on these bombs. We started to realize some scientists, a woman named Rachel Carson, you know, a bunch of great scientists, including Albert Einstein, says, wait a minute, including Robert J. Oppenheimer, says, hey, wait a minute, this stuff breaks down the DNA of all living creatures and causes leukemia, causes cancer, causes all these problems, these bombs. We have to stop it. And President Kennedy signed on July, before he was killed, not long before his tragic death in 1963, he signed into law we quit testing those out there. You know, Russia had what they call the Tsar bomb. They were like, okay, watch this, boom, we got bigger, we got more, and it was completely out of control. You know, and it compromised the whole world. You know, and we have a thing called half-life, that these things, an element named plutonium. Yeah, that's what Hulk was made out of, you know, but that's a cartoon, this is very real. Which we call a thing called half-life, which means when it loses its strength. It takes 24,500 years to lose its strength, so just by definition, we're like, wow, we need to stop this madness. Well, a lot of people fought against these nuclear things, saying that these catastrophes, we had one, a meltdown in Chernobyl in April of 1986, and we didn't learn our lesson. And the tsunami rushed in, actually the earthquake cracked, these things went into what we call meltdown. We call that nuclear fission, which has never happened before. It happened in Japan. And not one, but two, three. Now, these people that don't know how to share, these people that think everything's theirs, and you know the kid that has to have all the toys and whatever, they decided that, no, you know, these are all our toys, you know, whatever, and they decided, you know, they were going to control the world, you know, and these things couldn't happen. Well, it happened. And so they tried to lie about it. They lied and lied and lied and lied and lied and lied and lied. And they didn't want the public to get panicked, because the public gets panicked. They're afraid that the panic will cause more problems, so they lie. And governments lie, and television media lied, and you all know when you're kids. Well, they're all doing it. Remember when you come home and told your mom when you was little, well, they're all doing it. What did your mom say to you? That's no excuse. It's wrong. Well, these grown-ups, they were bad kids then, they're bad kids now, and they never grew up. And so they're all doing it. And so they all went along with it. And a whole bunch of people made a whole bunch of money along the way. And they keep getting money from this thing, so they're not about to talk about the reality and the truth. And you know, you walk outside and warm your body, the sun's free, right? Well, we learned technology, you know, a couple decades ago how to harness the sun. President Carter in 1976 had solar panels on the White House. That's right. Now, why were they taken down? Because these children, you know, they were making money off their nuclear power plants and their oil, you know, and people's money means a lot to people, you know. I think it's hard for little kids. So I think as kids, if you're in the 7th grade, 5th grade, 4th grade, 3rd grade, I think the most important thing you can do is maybe you can teach your mom and dad. And say, hey, mom, or, you know, whether you live with your mom or you live with your dad or, you live with or your grandparents, say, grandpa, grandma, you know, mom, dad, hey, how about this weekend, you know, I know you're working a lot and I know you're stressed or everything, how about we have a picnic? Let's go on a picnic to somewhere cool in our place, in our state. Winter, spring, summer, fall. You all have beautiful, really beautiful places in every state. This North America is a spectacular place. It has, you know, it has mountains, it has parks, it has seas, it has wells. And I want all you kids to understand something too. When you go view the wells, you see, you're not to get up right by them and touch them. No, they're wild creatures. They need their space. And people that go up, like, you see these adults, they're boat watchers, they're paddling out on their boards. That's wrong. That's very wrong. You don't want to do that. You want to live in symphony with your environment. So, you know, and we surely don't want to kill all the creatures. You know, maybe when you go fishing with your grandpa, you say, hey, grandpa, we going to eat this fish? Well, you know, maybe we shouldn't eat the fish. Maybe we should let him go. You know, so he's there to breed and make more. You know, maybe we should get, for our picnic, let's go eat some local food, maybe some local honey. Let's maybe have some honey, maybe some, you know, when the fruit season gets on, maybe some local strawberries, you know, and things that taste good. You know, Grandpa, I heard Garrett juice. Maybe we should buy a juicer, Mom, You know, maybe we should start playing with the juicer and, you know, making some of our own juice, see if we start to like it. You know, that's, you need to teach your parents, because they're busy, they're working too much, and you know that, and you know they're stressed out. You know, so it's going to be your generation. I mean, this nuclear fallout and this catastrophe, it's, you know, I hate to say this, but our generation is going to hand it to you. Now, you know, you don't need to be scared and you don't need to be afraid, because you're strong and the human genome will adapt, and you guys will learn, you're smart, intelligent people, that, you know, hey, the sun's free, the sun's safe. You know, maybe we can pivot away from these things, and I'm going to learn along the way, and I'm going to learn what's safe. And, you know, the thing with nuclear energy, there's no answer for the waste. You know, 60, 50, 40 years, we thought we had an answer for the waste. People really did. You know, I remember in the 60s and 70s arguing, and I'm an anti-nuclear activist, so I've always been against it. You know, and I got cancer, and I got leukemia, and, you know, cancer's hard. You know, some of your moms or your dads, your grandpa and your grandma got it, you know. I mean, you kids know. It's a very hard thing, but, you know, we have to be strong as far as us kids, all us kids, and we have to teach the adults, because the adults in this country, in this world, they don't know how to share. And they don't know the things that you know, that you were all taught. And they don't know how to show their emotions. You know, when you get mad, you stomp your feet, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, we control our emotions, but anger is very important. All these emotions you have, you don't need to squander them. You need to learn to use them, which I know you kids do. You know, and, you know, we listen to our teachers, but not every single thing our teacher ever tells us we know is right. You know, we have the internet. We can learn things. We can go along. And look, it won't be long till this will be your world. You know, this generation will be gone. And, you know, you're going to have a big weight on your shoulders as far as cleaning it up, whatever. But I have total faith that, because you're smart, you know, and you're strong, and you guys, you know how to share. And so we'll talk more about this out in the environment with the birds and the animals and the things. But, you know, we've been dumping a lot of stuff in the ocean, and it really affects the, you know, the sea turtles. They have trouble coming up on the ocean because everybody's walking their dogs on the beach. The sea turtles like to come up and lay their eggs there, which they've been doing for thousands and thousands and thousands and many thousands of years. You know, same with the whales. And human beings stress them out. Human beings and their garbage and their waste and everything they consume, it's too much for them. You know, and we've just dumped stuff in the ocean where that's their home. How would you like it, you know, somebody come to your house and they dumped all their garbage and their waste into your house? You know, that's what they're doing to the whales and the sea turtles and everything. And then, like I said, people want to go out and watch them and play with it. No, 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 no. You know, you keep your distance. Give them their space. That's their home. You know, you wouldn't want them all crowding up in your house, right up on, you know, up on you. It'd stress you out. You know, you're trying to, you know, they're trying to feed their family. They're trying to make, you know, their way, be happy. So we'll keep doing these videos. I'll do a set of these videos for the kids, you know, and I would like to say this to any of the adults that are showing any of these videos to the kids, whatever. I'll tag these for the kids. And I would like to say this to all the kids. I sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, apologize to all the children of the earth. I sincerely, that what our generation has done. It's wrong, it's selfish, it's immature, it's generational arrogance, it's disgusting, and I sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, you know, and I'm trying. I've been trying my whole life, because I do hear the voices of my great-granddaughters, you know, and I love you kids. I really honestly love you, and there's a lot of us out there that do love you, but there's a lot of people that, you know, it's not that they don't love you kids, they're just, you know, they're just overgrown kids and they never learned how to share, and their mom and dad never read to them, and they weren't loved, and, you know, they're mad and they want all the toys and they want everything for themselves. And there's a lot of those people, and we didn't stop those people. We let those people just go wild, and, you know, we didn't stop them, and so we have a lot of blame among all of us, but, you know, I apologize to all you children. You know, and we're going to try to make it better. We're going to try to do better, you know, all of us. And so we'll talk about how nuclear power works. We'll talk about the contamination. Fukushima's been going on for nearly 3 years, and they've been pushing the energy, which we call nuclear fission, which is called gamma rays, into the Pacific Ocean. It's very unhealthy for the ocean. It's very unhealthy for the climate. And so we'll talk more about that and what we can do to, you know, make ourselves strong. And I think it's important for you kids to know something. It's, you know, learn how to eat, learn how to diet, you know. Tell mom and dad, hey, we don't want fast food all the time. We don't want, you know, pizzas, you know, the cows, what they're eating, everything, this dairy, you know. We like maybe some real carrot juice, or, you know, my grandsons love carrot juice, by the way. They absolutely love it. My granddaughter really loves blackberries. And you'd be surprised what you kids will really love that are so healthy for you. And, you know, you do a little bit of work. You know, maybe ask your teachers or ask some people, or your mom and dad, or your grandparents, or your aunt and uncles what the healthy foods you should be eating. You know, and by the way, I'll bet you if you try them, you'd be surprised how much you like them. And maybe you can teach your mom and dad, because, you know, they're working too much, so it's easy to get fast food or whatever, and there's ways you can do it. You can make juice cheap at your house, or, you know, even in the supermarket, and ask your guy you go to your supermarket, make friends with your manager of your local supermarket, and, you know, start talking to them and what they suggest. And so there's lots of good alternatives, and there's lots of good things, and if you eat right as a child, and, you know, you start to develop your diet and get stronger, you'll feel better, you'll be happier, and all this pollution and this nuclear fallout that's into the atmosphere, your body will fight it off. So, all right, and we'll get back to this, you know, out by the birds, out on the beaches. We'll see the whales, we'll see the seals, we'll see the eagles, we'll see the ducks and the geese and the tundra swans and the blue herons. And, you know, I'm going to walk along the Pacific beach, and I'll get lots of good videos for you kids to watch along the beach. And like I said, when you see a pot of whales, you see a seal, you see some orcas, you don't paddle out on your board and get right up next to them and think, because that's wrong. That's what these adults do. That's horribly wrong. Give them their space. They're wild creatures, you know, and it's beautiful to look at them. But keep your distance so they have their freedom and they have their space. Stay tuned.